What is this supposed to mean?
Well, this and the whole Chikura legend, I really feel it. It has something to do with our missing people. I know it sounds crazy, but I really have a feeling there's something to it.
Whitman, you are out of your mind.
Hey everybody, welcome to Garbage Day, part of the Bad Movie Night Network. This is a new podcast we have started to talk about some really awful movies. And the awful movie we chose tonight was Winterbeast. From 1992, directed by Christopher Thies. This was quite a unique movie, gentlemen. Mark, would you mind explaining a little bit about...
No, why are you having him do this?
Having him do what?
Okay, because one, the movie makes no
cut this out.
The movie makes no sense.
He's great for this because he just goes on
right,
forever.
Yeah, okay. You know what? Never mind. Just do it. All right, Mark. And try to be at least a little bit respectful of the Native American population. Okay.
Yes.
And culture.
No, I'm not gonna go there. Come on, I'm not like I'm inappropriate. I'm not a bigot. Okay, like there's a fine line that I can walk.
do we need to start over?
No, this is great.
Okay.
All right, Winterbeast. This movie was published in 1992. That is actually factually incorrect. This was made in 1982 to 1992.
A decade, right?
It is a decade-long process. And if I were to describe this movie in one word, it would be inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in its production time of a decade, this movie is basically a amalgamation. Is that the right word?
An amalgamation.
Amalgamation.
Yeah, a collage.
It is bits and slices of shots over a long period of time stitched together to create a true monster.
Yeah.
And it
a
was
Winterbeast.
It was a tough watch at times because it just seemed to be going in many directions. There wasn't a thorough plot that it kind of followed. There were scenes that were shot on film from like a tripod, and then it would interject a video camera shot in like the same instance.
It was tough because
and it was really just hard to follow what was going on.
You have these characters and they use consistency in the same characters, but over a decade they age and their facial hair and their outfits change.
Well,
and all of that is just kind of.
But okay, you can. I can give some empathy to having to film and finish a movie over a decade, and even I'll give credit for going the length and actually finishing it. The problem I have is, hey, this weekend, Bill, we're going to film that scene. You know, where we're in the forest and we fight the monster.
Yeah.
All right. Bill, why'd you show up with a different fucking outfit? And why are we just filming it like this when we're cutting to this? You know what I mean? Like
with another scene we shot 2 years
Bill,
ago.
Why are you 10 years older now that we're shooting 10 years after? What is going on?
Why wouldn't you check what you filmed before and make sure everybody's wearing the same stuff at least?
Yeah, that's like the bare minimum.
I feel like
bare minimum.
The bare minimum is that you're shooting at the same time of the year, which they can't even do that.
No,
it's like shooting between, summer and then there's snow on the ground in the next second, and then they're at the beach in the next scene.
Beach.
It's just
there is a point. So throughout the movie, there's also a really fun aspect about the movie is all the creatures for the most part are claymation, a majority of them, and that was the best part of the film, right?
Yeah, of course. The claymation was badass.
It was cool, and I think that made that.
It was the only
fun.
good thing of the film. Yeah.
Well, this, as I mentioned earlier, watching
having watched these bad movies,
It reminds me of Things a little bit, right?
Yeah, kind of. One thing that like most of these films, we've never seen a lot is stop animation. That like just doesn't happen.
It's not easy. And this was actually pretty good and fluid. Yeah.
Wow. Really well.
AJ, I hear your comparison to Things, and I do agree.
The vibe, right?
Yeah, it's got the vibe of like the viewer trying to decipher just what the logic is that is occurring, what is happening on screen. You got people talking to each other, but like I remember 15 minutes into this movie, I was like, they just talked for 10 minutes. I couldn't pick, I don't know anything that happened there.
Yeah, it's hard to hear them. So there's a good chunk of the movie that is shot kind of like a stage play with one camera. And there's long sequences where there is dialogue delivered in those scenes. Probably the best shot sequences of the movie are these stage shots where they're on like an actual backdrop stage. But it's
like
hard to hear
flat,
what they're saying, right?
It's just like a big flat wide. But even when you call it a wide, like there's so many scenes where they struggle to get 3 people into frame.
Yeah, and they smash them in.
And they're just smashed in there.
And they're overlapped. It looks weird because people don't stand like that.
So do you think they built like a stage?
I think the stage stuff came later.
Because we can't shoot left, we can't shoot right, we can only shoot forward at the actor. So there's no like coverage at all.
My thought process is this came together because someone was really good at claymation and they wanted to create claymation characters attacking people in the woods. And then around that, years later, they started to build a story where you get the stage sequences added in to make sense of it all because it's so random. It's like someone's practicing their claymation and stuff.
It almost seems like they shot the whole movie on like video, didn't publish it, and then as they're like coming back around to it, they're like, all right, we gotta like reshoot this film and have these.
If anything, I'd
have
be
these
the opposite.
sets
When they started, they probably shot on film.
Yeah, because there's definitely sequences where you're watching it, it's like, that didn't work, so they went back and reshot it, but they're not wearing the same clothes, and it's 5 years later.
Yeah. It's very jarring for the viewer. Mark, hypothetically speaking, you come over to my house. I'm like, I want to show you something, Mark. And I pull out a box, and I open it up, and it is like a necklace that I've been wanting to show you. But next to the necklace is just a penis. What do you do? And like I open it, I pull out the necklace, and I start talking, but I leave that box open. So there's just a penis right there.
And your balls are hanging out. Is that the question?
One of my testicles.
Do you say anything?
Yeah.
Or are you just
what's your approach in this situation?
Well, in the movie, you say nothing about it. All right? In the movie, you say nothing. You look at the necklace with the Native American like claws and stuff on it, and you're like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." But you don't address the large wooden dildo that's in the box with.
Is that what it was? That's what it looked like, right?
Yeah. Yes. That's what it was.
They didn't talk about it.
No one talked about it.
I mean, I don't know much about Native
shots,
American artifacts. Maybe this is just a common thing that you know.
Mark, what did I warn you about?
I'm not making blanket statements about anything, all right? It's cool, all right? That's neat. Think of like the white man that came to this country where all these Puritan assholes like...
True, it took away all the fun.
Yeah, and like you got these Native Americans rocking sex toys back in the day. Like it's cool.
Oh, that would be scary. Think of a splinter.
Well,
yeah.
That thing better be lacquered or something, right? Shellac? Do you shellac it?
It's probably crystals? It's worn, smooth,
well,
or whatever.
Question.
Yeah.
So we understand that this is part of like a Native American like ritual spirit kind of thing. The local resort guy is controlling this.
Yeah.
Right? And at some point,
I don't know if he's controlling it or if he's kind of like playing his part in it.
Okay, but he's aware of it, it seems. And as he's defeated and it comes to an end, I thought that was the end of the movie. But
we're 9 minutes into the podcast and we're already at the end of the movie.
Well, I have a question because I don't understand it.
Okay. No, actually, no, and that's not even the end of the movie.
Even if we work our way up to it, it's not going to make any sense when we do address it.
All right,
but
I just wanted your opinion on him as a character and like what comes to fruition.
Well, let's go through our
right.
our band of characters.
All right.
When the movie opens, we are at a forest ranger's place,
Yeah.
and there's a dream sequence.
Yes.
Which is like a real. So I knew we were in trouble when this
that was
dream
badass,
sequence passed.
though.
It was a cool scene.
Yeah, it was like a
but the
zombie
way
guy.
that it just
Cut together.
Yes,
It's
it
like,
was just
what?
cut to that. Cut to him waking up like with. I guess they're trying to present it as like a dream sequence, but it's just a guy going, hoo-hoo, and then it cuts to something else, and like that, the editing obviously was never going to work.
No.
Having spliced together so many different shots over so many different years on so many different platforms, but
so that's the stuff that reminds me of Things. Because remember in Things when the guy like opens up his kitchen cabinet and like it's like a portal to another dimension or something.
Yeah.
And like
that
they
was
don't
cool.
actually show any of that. They just talk about it, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden people are there and little and
Things just start happening.
there's bugs, and it's like this only makes sense to the person making it.
Yeah.
And he thinks somehow he's relaying information to everybody else that makes sense, and he's just not.
Yeah. Or you just like, I don't even know if that's it. I think it's just like, we're going to make a movie and have fun and put stuff together. And yeah, it might make sense in his mind, but not from like an analytical approach. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I think it's how a lot of bad movies are.
Well, it's just like, well, we actually didn't shoot coverage of that stuff, so how do we cut it together?
It's the practical things. Yeah. Making your own first movie, you have one camera, one angle, you shoot all of that. You don't think about that because you've never done this before. And you get to the editing room and you're like, fuck, I don't have anything.
Do you know why that happens?
Why?
Because a lot of directors have never edited anything.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand, if you've never edited anything, how you know what kind of coverage you need.
Well, that's the thing. To be a director, you have to understand a lot about the world, and you have to understand people, and you have to understand how people interact in relationships and those kind of things. You have to understand how people think. And if you don't understand these kind of things, you can't make a decent film, right?
Well, I don't know about that. I'm just thinking from visual storytelling aspect. You might not make a coherent or good story, but you should be able to logically kind of show something that's cohesive to people to understand, right?
I think
like to comprehend what just happened.
I think too, when you think about like where directors typically come from, a lot of them come from like theater. And you have like one stage, one angle. And they're not used to this idea of cheating in line in the edit where you're fabricating different angles and you're creating a more dynamic narrative story.
Well,
it's unusual, right?
I mean, even with basic coverage, it gets boring. Even if you just have a wide and then two over the shoulders between characters, it feels like a tennis match where you're just, now I talk, now I talk, now I talk.
The problem with this
what I mean?
movie is too, it takes place in different time periods, so it's really jarring.
Well, so then it's really jarring because it's cutting from a wide that looks one way to an over the shoulder where the character
like 2 years
actor
later.
is different.
And the hair's different, and the outfit's different.
But it is better when they do that than they just sit on that wide for 5 minutes long, because that stuff was awful at the beginning. That's where I was worried when we were in that forest ranger and they're just talking for 5 minutes straight
A lot of this
with
felt,
no change in camera.
A lot of that early
that
stuff.
being the intro to the movie too was like
It felt very Twin Peaks, like those set pieces.
Oh yeah,
It feels like a Twin Peaks.
That was Twin
thing.
Peaks, the opening.
There's some
I
like
think-
David Lynch stuff here and there.
I think if they would have just
This is
stuck
like-
with that type of filming aspect, the entire film, it could have worked.
This movie is like if David Lynch had a stroke and then they just let him make more Twin Peaks. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, this is great. Okay.
Yeah, this is the new Twin Peaks season.
Yeah.
Sure.
I didn't watch the new one.
I haven't either.
No. But there's a scene really early in the film, like right after the dream sequence, where there's a guy in the woods.
Yeah.
And he like picks up something off the ground or something.
Yeah.
And he like jerks back into a tree and a skull, like an Indian skull, erupts from his chest.
So cool.
Badass.
It's really cool.
So cool.
And I think that is actually where the initial
Catalyst?
the initial demonic Indian spirits like start coming out of.
So you're
the
suggesting
mountain?
they're birthing out of people?
No, I'm suggesting this man found an artifact on the ground, like an Indian artifact that disturbed these spirits, and they're like coming back, and that was like the
start,
the catalyst.
So
that makes sense for the end.
Ground
We get
zero.
to talk about the head.
That does make sense.
The
to me.
movie does not explain this in any way.
Yeah.
Well,
coherently.
do you guys think
and it's just a poor way to tell a story.
No, it's a great way. Do you believe that you can disturb something and anger a spirit in real life?
Are you asking if I believe in like
I believe
afterlife spirits?
Yeah. Do you think that you could come in somewhere and you disturb something and now you have a vengeful spirit after you?
I think you should let those that lie rest. Not because they're spirits, but just because it's like desecration of.
That was a good pivot, Mark.
What a sellout. What a cop-out. What a cop-out answer.
I'm just saying.
What are you running for office? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Just be considerate.
Do you believe in the ghost, that vengeful spirit of ghosts?
I don't
That was a
believe in
great
vengeful spirits of ghosts.
Okay.
But I do believe in like not disturbing resting places. 'Cause,
Why?
like,
They're dead.
it's their
Out of the respect
final
for the-
resting. Yeah,
No,
like it's just out of respect for
Yeah,
them.
I think there
like
should be a
the
respect.
individual
By
that's
that
there
logic,
just-
though, people have died literally everywhere in this fucking...
That's true.
So, like, oh, we're just supposed to not use that space anymore?
Yeah, you shouldn't build a condominium complex on top of a Native American burial ground. Like, you just shouldn't do that. Not because of the angry spirits that are going to erupt out of it, but
Out of respect of like
just
what came
because,
before
yeah,
you.
like, don't fucking do that.
Why? They're gone.
It's
Do,
just...
do we need to have the respect for the dinosaurs?
Do you think it's interesting? Well, here's a question for you, Chris. Do you think
Yeah.
it's interesting that most European countries and European cultures, when they build something,
Yeah.
they live in it for centuries.
Yeah.
And here, when we build stuff in it, we live in it until it falls apart, and then we rebuild on top of it and do all this other stuff. Like, we don't have like a appreciation for like the history of what came before us, like other countries do.
Well, they have much
preserve
smaller.
it.
They have much smaller land.
That's true, but even think about like the Greek and Roman architecture and how that's been preserved and like appreciated, and they're not building a fucking mall on top of it.
But I'm
right?
sure
we
there's
do
ton-
that here.
I'm sure
Right.
there's tons that wasn't preserved too.
Sure, but there's more respect, right?
I mean, my argument is we have houses that are hundreds and hundreds of years old that are here and still well and preserved. Sure, there's much stuff that falls into disarray, but I feel like we've just expanded a lot more than we've preserved.
How do you feel about building a parking lot on top of
Native burial ground.
yeah, because that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with preserving some land, but
What if it's like your great grandmother and they
I don't
put a
give a
parking
fuck.
lot on
I
top
don't
of
give a
her?
fuck. She's dead. I'm never gonna see her again. She's dead. She doesn't care. I don't care. You
On a
when I
personal
die,
level, I
you-
think we should just cremate everyone that dies.
Yeah, when I'm
I
dead,
think we
you
should
can-
stop burying the dead.
AJ, if I die, you can build a parking lot right on top of me.
At least a 7-Eleven.
I mean, depends on where the parking lot is. If it's in suburbia, I probably don't need it. But if it's like downtown Philly and parking's cheap, then build that fucking parking lot because there's no parking anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
That's very altruistic of you.
Thank you.
Thinking about others. Yeah. Just throw my corpse into this ditch here so you can build.
Make sure you get that good parking spot at IKEA, right?
I mean, I don't know.
So,
sure.
you-
I
so what
hear
you're
you.
saying is you don't believe in angry spirits because
No.
no spirit should be angry for being desecrated. Like,
I like the idea of believing in spirits, and like I think like without getting too deep into it, I think it's an interesting concept, and I think it makes decisions and the way people think easier and less stressful. Kind of like how people get in ways of like religion that makes it the world a little more simplistic. You know what I mean? Like it gives people that kind of balance at the end of the day. They don't have to.
Are you
worry
talking about spirits in general?
Yeah, just in general.
Oh yeah, I think it's just people are too afraid of death, so they need reason to think like there's something after this. But I don't think that because I don't remember being before I was born, and I assume that's what it'll be like after I'm dead. Just nothing, and it was peaceful then, and it'll be peaceful when I'm dead.
yeah, no.
And no one's gonna remember me 100 years from now.
I'm glad this
that I
movie
even existed.
brought this up for you.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then you're supposed to die, and you're like, all right, fine, I'm dead. Now I'm at rest. But like, oh, somebody comes along and pisses me off. Like, what? That's just like an old man kind of thing. Like they stepped on my dead bone here from 100 years ago. I'm mad about that now.
What if, in this context, you're a primitive Native American tribe,
Okay.
chilling in the woods.
Yeah.
You've been living there for many generations. You
Yeah.
have contact with surrounding tribes. You've had your conflicts. You've had your peace. Along comes this alien incursion of white-skinned,
Yeah.
warring people, and they, rape and pillage
Yeah.
your people, and you are killed and
Yeah.
thrown in a mass grave.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you would have a different reaction when their ancestors are building a parking lot over top of your body?
Sure.
Like, those motherfuckers. Like,
No,
I'm not gonna let them get away with this.
That's not what I'm
without,
talking about, though.
I'm gonna possess this little girl's ass, and I'm
have
gonna make
fucking-
her
Yeah, but you're
spit blood all over.
you're like
her parents.
You're just okay with like colonialization and
We're
like
so far off this
destroying
fucking
people
movie.
and just taking their land and having no.
We have gone
I'm
down
like,
some rabbit holes.
all
here.
I'm
Listen, I think what we've been trying to explain is that these demons in this movie, like, they were in the right. Okay.
Yeah, of course they were.
They were in the right.
I don't think they were in the right. This
No,
the woman was in her house. She took her shirt off in the living room for some reason,
tree
and
got
an
killed.
angry
She was in the-
tree
she was in
broke
the
through her
lodge.
window
That was
and killed her.
probably the best
She
scene
was
in
a
the movie, right?
tourist.
She did nothing wrong. She's not the part of the people who desecrated the land. She simply went there on vacation, Mark.
She's an ancestor of the people who did.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so now guilt is just passed down through any generation forever? Because at that logic, everybody's guilty in some way.
That's
something.
true. Here's one you don't have to edit out. Have any of you guys done the research to see if your families owned slaves?
No, I have not.
I have not. No.
It's very scary,
If
isn't
if they had, fuck them.
Well, back to the film.
So, film opens with
Yeah.
terribly
let's
spliced
get into the
together
movie.
scenes that make no context at all.
This is why
You
we
get
can't
to
do the
opening,
podcast.
opening scene. They're in a ranger's lodge
Yeah.
it seemed like a snowstorm, right?
Yeah,
Well, you heard the wind.
I really thought from the start of this movie and that scene, this is going to be a badass or trapped in the snow in the mountains movie.
Right?
I was
yeah.
on board for that.
I thought so too.
And especially with the name and I thought that's what we were going to get. And I was really disappointed when it turned out that you never actually really see any snow, right?
You see no
You're
snow.
not supposed to.
They didn't have the money for the snow.
They had ice on a side of a mountain with a mountain climber. That was a good one.
Oh, the guy.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, it gets this. The story, when you boil it down, though, is a mix of Poltergeist and Jaws,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Because you have the Rangers who are trying to protect people and uncover what is going on. Which, by the way, there's like murders and people missing, and yet the police and stuff are never involved, which is weird. Just the Forest Rangers.
are the
Well, the
But
Rangers,
the Forest
yeah.
Rangers aren't police.
Well, they're investigating murders.
They are in this town.
You know,
And
I
they're
feel like at
investigating
that
murders.
point,
Well, they're investigating missing rangers.
that's
to
fair.
start.
But we start to learn that they start appearing as giant plastic things in the woods with skeletons on them.
Yeah, the totems
Yeah.
with the skeletons.
There's one totem we never see, or like a murder scene that we never see, which was really disappointing.
No, see, I disagree. I think that was the totem we saw right before. They just never
Okay.
show it to us again.
Yeah, it was
to
really
imply
bad
it's the
editing.
Same thing they're looking at.
It's a terrible editing.
All they had to do was just throw in a still shot of that totem in that scene. And,
Yeah,
and,
it's such
like,
poor
it just
editing.
Very
provides
poor editing.
context to what they're looking at. Otherwise, you have no idea.
They should have went back and filmed some totems for this movie.
Well, when they find
They
that,
should have went back 5 years later and filmed a.
there's still time, guys. There's no reason not to. No. When they find that totem,
Yeah.
this is after the first murder that we see of the
Mhm.
woman getting killed, ripped out of her house and killed.
Yes.
And then they stumble upon a totem in the forest, and it's got a skeleton attached to it. But they don't like investigate the skeleton as if it's somebody. Did they
Yeah.
not think it's a real skeleton?
Yeah.
Do they think it's old?
That's how. Yeah. You
Is
would
it not the
assume-
ladies?
You would assume.
Or is it supposed to be a different person's skeleton?
You would assume there'd be some kind of investigation, but in all reality, I don't think the park rangers would be in charge of that kind of investigation. They might find the body
No, yeah.
or be like the first people to show up, but you would bring in a specialist
Yeah,
or something like that.
call the police.
Yeah.
And then the FBI would come in.
Oh, in a perfect world, the FBI would come in. Yeah.
Maybe they assumed it was just like an ancient Indian
Skeleton and not like
skeleton totem
the
or
lady.
something like that. And not
Well, the
like
one was
recent-
plastic, so
recent murders.
The first monster was that tree
Oh, that was so cool.
thing.
I like
right?
the tree. That made sense because you're in
Yeah.
the woods and like
No, that
it's
was-
a tree spirit, right? Some of the other
that was
ones were more
cool.
questionable though.
That-
like the alien.
That was the one thing with the clay animation, stop animation, is that there were like new monsters in every monster scene.
Every scene had a new monster.
Yeah, it was cool.
Why?
I don't know.
And
Maybe
where
I know
did
why.
they
Do you know why?
go?
Because over the 10 years, like that original one hardened,
They
the clay
lost the-
hardened. That he's
lost
like,
the
"Oh,
model."
fuck." Yeah,
They had
he had to make a new
model.
one.
Yeah, no, that's a good explanation.
I get like hardcore Gumby vibes when
Yeah.
the monster like picks up a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great.
It is good though.
It looks great though. They went through the effort to actually to putting people in as claymation from that point.
I almost wish the whole movie was claymation.
That'd be badass.
All right, so characters in this film.
Yeah, we have our main.
We have our main park ranger,
Yeah.
Joe Mustache.
Who we learned who wanted to become a cop, but he didn't have the material to do
Yeah,
that.
he didn't have. He was a crossing guard at one point.
Yeah, so he came back from the big city, dreams crushed, and accepting his fate as the head park ranger.
And he gives like a motivational speech about like, well, yeah, I may have failed at what I wanted to do in my dreams, but if I hadn't, then who would be here as a park ranger?
Super depressing.
How does that
Dun, dun, dun.
How does that hit you, Mark? Now that you're 40.
Hey,
Yeah.
find what you love doing. And,
AJ, do you remember when we would go to school, or maybe you didn't ride with us, but we would ride into school, and as we were arriving at school, Mark would be leaving the school to go home, skipping it for the day.
Listen, it took me a little bit to get on my my high horse, but I'm doing all right now.
What were your dreams and aspirations back then?
Get more sleep.
You didn't know what you were going to do with your future, what you wanted to be?
No, I really wasn't.
I remember we thought
concentrated
Mark
on
would be a
that.
great politician.
Well, yeah, you
I
heard how
don't
he
think
answered
I-
that
Yeah,
one
he
thing I
pivoted
asked
like
about.
a champ.
Yeah. Mark, what is
Other
your...
people's, I don't really care about other people. I'd be a terrible politician.
That's what you need to
Well,
do.
no, that's what you
don't-
need to do.
Yeah, you collect money. You don't care about
Yeah.
people.
But you got to act like you do.
Yeah, which is
Uh,
good because it's just lying.
We should ask Mark some political questions.
Oh God, I
Like
don't know.
like
What?
to see what his platform would be. You know what I mean?
Start
Mark,
his
what do you
build
think
his
about what would you do about
Ancient
inflation?
burial
Mark?
grounds.
Mark, what are you
undisturbed
doing
area.
about inflation?
Um.
How you gonna bring housing costs down?
Yeah, Mark, how are you gonna?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, housing prices have not fallen in the last.
You need
4
to you need to
years,
answer it like you're
even though
on a
inflation
debate right now.
is, like,
Okay, so you
higher.
got to prepare. Mark, how do you handle inflation?
Well, I mean, honestly, if you really want to tackle it, you need to limit government spending.
Okay.
So,
So what would you implement to do that?
I would stop canceling student debt.
Mark has become right wing.
I
It
would.
took him 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
I
The lobbyists
would.
got him quick, didn't they, AJ?
Well, if you don't cancel student debt, you're not giving generations the chance for a future, which is the
No.
problem right now. And young generations will never be able to own a home, and they'll never be able to get out of student debt. So what are we doing for them besides not caring?
Yeah, I mean that's an answer you kind of kick down the road.
Wow, and we're supposed to
That's-
vote for you?
Listen,
You're
I'm
kicking
being-
ass.
I am the
Honest.
realist.
No, you're supposed to lie.
realist.
You're supposed to lie.
So back to the movie.
back to
we
the movie,
have
please.
we have
You lost
Joe
my vote.
Ranger.
You so lost my vote, Mark.
Took long. Yeah, the
So
ranger. We have a
I'm just
couple other
gonna eat
rangers.
Lon to buy it from you.
There you go.
All right.
The second ranger had glasses on. He was kind of cool, but not really. Cool
He
man.
wasn't a ranger, so he was like a guy.
Yeah,
No,
he
he
had a
was.
ranger
Yeah, he
jacket
was.
on. He was.
He was a ranger. He was
the first
new.
Scene.
He had just arrived, I think.
Yeah, and he put his
I
uniform
thought he
on.
was like a traveling dude who was just
No,
like,
he's
"Hey,
a
I'm
ranger.
checking out the
I
area."
think he
No.
was a ranger.
He has a
Yeah.
ranger jacket on.
He did have a ranger jacket.
Yeah,
on.
he's a ranger.
So whenever they shot the set scenes, I'm
Yeah.
guessing that was like the the last time they were doing shoots.
Probably.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
feel like
don't
they
know.
added
The
his
story.
character to the movie. I don't think he was in any other shots
Sequences?
or.
Well, he
edits
died at
of
the
movie.
beach.
He did die at the beach, but that beach shot was like,
Yeah, way
That was like when they're on
Taken-
vacation.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think his inclusion in this movie was like an afterthought.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. Now I was confused because besides the two ranger guys, him included, you have the other guy and the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Now were they just
Ranger woman.
did they live there or were they what were
Yeah,
they?
they'd be posted somewhere. You would probably have a house somewhere, and then you'd have a ranger station you would check in at. But often they'd probably be out just patrolling areas.
Well, they weren't rangers. That woman and that other guy.
No, the one guy I think
The
was like
woman
a
was.
store owner.
Store
The
owner.
Oh, yeah,
woman,
yeah.
not the woman who would be with the store owner guy, but there was another like ranger woman who was killed in the.
Yeah.
She was killed
Remember,
in the
she got her
woods
neck
by
funneled?
the zombie who came out of the grave.
Oh
Yeah, and then her neck got played with by the
Yeah,
creepy
and then the guy was fingering her.
he fingered her neck.
Yeah.
What was that about?
That's a good question.
So you
what
have
is
those
that
guys.
scene? Like the director's like, okay, now just like
Stick
kind
that
of
finger in that
finger
neck.
her neck a little.
And then you
bit?
have the main antagonist is the Sheldon guy who owns the Wild Goose Lodge, which is where a lot of the scenes take place. Is this
That-
fucking lodge that this park ranger's like, you gotta shut it
Well,
down.
that's the guy. That's the reason why I bring up the Jaws comparison, because it feels like the Rangers are saying you got to shut this down, but he's like, no, because this is how the town brings in money, so we're going to keep pressing through this.
Yeah.
But it turns out, one, he looks like old Neil Patrick Harris,
Mhm.
which we called, but he seems normal, just like only worried about money until a scene where I don't understand what the frick happened. You know what I'm talking about? Where he
You're
had a
talking
woman
about
hanging
the-
up dead in his.
Well, I think he was in on it a little bit. He seemed to have he seemed to get a lot of gratification from like what was happening and causing the Rangers issues. And when they closed down his resort, which they weren't really clear about if that had happened yet in the movie, but I'm pretty sure it did. He kind of just went crazy within his resort.
Did he have any sort of tie to this Native
I
American
think he did.
spirit entity thing?
Well, he got
that's-
the woman that was murdered by the creature in the woods somehow back in his into his resort. So I assume there's some kind of tie-in with him.
Well, there was more than just her. There was everybody, wasn't there?
Yeah, there were a lot of dead bodies in his resort, and he was just kind of
Do
going with it.
you think maybe he was possessed?
I would have liked the scene with showing that if that was the case.
Do
So
you
that-
think he was possessed?
Well, that grave that park ranger woman found in the woods
Yeah.
was a Sheldon grave.
So he was dead the whole time.
I don't know if he was well, so he just bursts into flames at the end of the movie.
That was pretty epic. Though.
in
Oh,
the
yeah.
scene where. So I'm thinking he actually wasn't alive.
Like he was
was
just like
just-
a creation of the spirits.
That
makes sense.
maybe,
Actually.
yeah, because he was bringing people up to the mountain for the
Yeah.
spirits to sacrifice or whatever.
That's a good point.
So would you guys? Would you guys want to be possessed?
Why? Who would want that?
Like, do you think it would be bad to be possessed?
I think if you are unconscious for it, it probably would be when you wake up.
Like, what do you think? If you're possessed, you know what's happening, but you can't do anything.
It's probably the worst possession to be.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Because then you're like, just
I can't. I'm locked in this cage,
of my
not
mind,
controlling
yeah.
it.
Is that? I guess that's what possession's like, or you're just unaware.
Well, what
wonder if
AJ's
that a lot
saying
of it
is
is
like
just like-
you black out and then you come
wake
to
up and it's like, what
and
happened?
you're, everyone's dead.
Yeah, and a lot of it can probably be related to like mental disease, like schizophrenia and things that we now have better explanation for.
Oh
but
yeah,
they're
no,
not
I'm just
before.
saying hypothetically. I'm not saying
Okay,
I believe in
okay.
possession or anything.
Sure.
I'm not like Mark over here.
We were talking about The Conjuring earlier. So.
We were talking about The Conjuring. See, now The Conjuring house,
Yeah.
I would knock that down and build a parking lot right over that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Why not? I would hang where that the ghost person was hanging off the tree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd put a swing right there.
Yeah.
Just swing all day. Because look,
It's in the middle
Look,
of nowhere.
the thing of it is half the time these
isn't
ghosts
like-
that get mad, it's because they were dicks in real life.
Right.
Do you
but
know what I mean?
Like the that spirit that's hanging out of that tree. It's not like their body is buried under that tree.
Then what the
Like,
fuck is their
he's
spirit
just-
doing at
his
that fucking
spirit's
tree?
just hanging out with that tree.
If the spirit's
I don't
hanging
know.
there
Like,
swinging
that-
and his balls fall out, are you going to say anything
That-
to him?
Do you believe
Spirit
in
testicles.
spirits that like can't pass on?
No, that's dumb. There's nowhere to pass
You think
on to.
spirits choose to be like dicks?
I don't think there's anywhere to pass on to.
Okay.
I don't
right.
believe in a
But-
spirit.
Right, but we're talking like, do you
Hypothetically.
believe in like, you can be Casper or you can be like a poltergeist?
That's true. It might be fun to be a
Do
poltergeist,
you-
though.
Do you think that is a conscious choice a spirit is making? I'm going to be
No.
nice or I'm going to be
In the
mean?
world of this stuff, I think it would make more sense that if you are stuck behind, it's because you have some sort of unfinished thing, but you are unaware of what it is.
As a spirit.
Right. And so maybe during that time you do become angry because of being stuck for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or if you do die in a way that is so traumatic and unfair, or whatever you want to say, wronged, if you've been wronged so badly that you come back as a vengeful spirit. But two wrongs don't make a right, Mark. So just because you were wrong doesn't mean you should come back as an evil, angry spirit and take it out on somebody else. Just because they were hired to put out a fucking parking lot over where you died. You know what I
agree.
mean?
No, I agree. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Where's the mic? Can I drop this? It's only $400. He didn't say no.
Don't drop that fucking mic.
Winterbeast. Why do we think it's called Winterbeast? Especially when there's so many beasts.
How
where's
there's
the winter?
little winter too.
There's no winter. There's a sound of
there's
winter.
no winter.
What was your favorite claymation?
I kind of like the chicken
The chicken was badass. The way it moved was good.
and the raptor and the peach.
The raptor was cool.
Is that what that was?
I
don't know
like
what
the
that
tree guy. I thought he was pretty
Was. Tree
original.
guy was cool. Oh, the alien with like the way it would move its neck was
And
cool
it's,
too.
remember its slurp? He'd be like,
I gotta admit, I didn't like the zombie, and I didn't like. I think it was supposed to be a giant at the end.
yeah, it felt like a cop out from like the quality of craftsmanship they've been doing prior.
I wanted them to have a claymation monster that they'd like run a miniature car into and stuff like that.
That'd be awesome.
That would be badass,
That would
right?
have been awesome. That car scene where they're driving and he falls out.
Just fall
randomly.
out.
I didn't even realize the giant was a giant for a very long time.
Chris, can you explain to me the contextual importance of the severed head at the end of the movie?
Oh yeah, is that like another connection to the beginning with the
What
artifacts?
severed head are you talking about?
The head they
The
were
one that
controlling
he
the
shoots
giant.
with the
Oh.
flare gun.
I thought because they had destroyed the totem and blew it up, remember? This was just an artifact left behind that also needed to be burned or destroyed
Okay.
for the curse to be broken.
So that head, the guy in the plaid, not the park ranger guy, was carrying when he went into the Wild Goose Lodge and like observed the dude dancing around with the mask on and the music playing.
Oh.
Why?
So maybe this whole time had nothing to do with the totem and always had to do with that mask he had with him? That's
No,
what-
the head.
The head
He
that
had
he-
the head.
I don't know. Oh, was that the... Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, right?
That doesn't make any
That
sense.
doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Winterbeast.
There's
Yeah.
a scene where the guy falls down a mountain, rolls down a hill. Now, like 2 years ago, I stole my kid's scooter
yeah.
and I went down a hill and then
Oh,
I
gosh.
wrecked. And it was...
Was it like a grass
so...
hill?
I rolled and everything.
Was it like cement?
I mean, I went off the cement and crashed into
wow.
the grass.
Did you get hurt?
No, I mean, I walked it off because that's what you do, but it was a lot. And this guy was rolling down this hill and he was like 45 or so.
5 years ago, I went skiing and landed hard on my hip
Yeah.
in a fall, and I've never been the same since.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that dude, I don't think that dude is able to walk. No,
Yeah.
probably.
You really did? You can't... What is your injury?
It's just like a sore hip, like a
You
nagging
think you
injury.
fractured it or something?
I don't know what I did.
I think it just fucked. It's like
I think
yeah.
I burst. You have like a sack or something on the joint. I think I like burst it.
And you just didn't go to the doctor.
what are they gonna do?
It never like hurt so much that I couldn't walk. It just hurt.
That is the fine line you have to play with going to the doctor, because if you don't know about it, then it's not going to be that bad. And as soon as the doctor tells you about it, it's so much worse, right?
Well, it can be.
I mean, once it gets so bad that you have to go to the doctor, it's going to take just as much time to like get it better
Yeah,
as
then-
it took to get that bad. And it's like it's a marathon. It's crazy. Like you got to rehab for years to like recover from it.
So you were better off going to the doctor early before it was nothing.
I should have. I didn't.
The medical
so I've been
system's
like rehabbing it for years now, and it's better. But it's
Mark's political platform to reform the medical system is to what are you taking away from people now? What else are you taking away from people?
Yeah. What are we gonna cut?
Listen, I think we can probably keep the abortions. All right, they don't happen that much. There really isn't that much involved.
There you go,
It's
Mark.
just it's a coat hanger and some,
that's what needs cut. See, that's the stuff that needs cut. Hey, Jay.
I think this is an episode that already played out before. Remember the killer fetus or whatever?
The suckling. That was a great
suckling.
movie.
I think this is a rehash.
I mean, there is a solid. If you cut together about 2 minutes of this movie, like you could get some really solid, fun clips out of this thing. And it's not very long. It's only like an hour.
I thought it was like I thought we watched it for like 2 hours.
But it feels arduous.
Oh my god! I was shocked.
There's so many scenes where like it's really, it's just it's like dialogue to have filler.
Yeah, because none of it registers.
What they're talking
right?
about
it's nothing.
Is something they've already discussed earlier in their film, and they're just like rehashing it.
Yeah.
Or it's literally just like coming out of their mouth, and like, what are they talking about?
Yeah,
there was just how many scenes was that park ranger demanding that lodge owner to close his lodge? Like a dozen?
Yeah.
A dozen times? Like they
then they'd be like screaming at each other in the lobby.
Another one's missing. You gotta close it. Oh, another park ranger's missing. You gotta close the park. It's just
how do you do this movie better? What do you do?
You film it at the same chunk of time for what?
I mean, I think on the premise can work.
More claymation.
Like, I think we expanded the lodge and we moved.
We go winter.
I think it all starts in the beginning. Like there was nothing that occurred at the beginning that set up the rest of the film.
I think
you need to have
catalyst. You need
to have that catalyst.
You have the fall fest and people get murdered at fall fest.
I think
something happens.
And then winter comes and it gets dark and people leave and you're trapped with the creatures on the mountain.
I think it's got to be something like the owner who's building the lodge knows it's ancient Indian burial ground, but
and
proceeds.
He built on it anyways. Yeah.
So the lodge gets cursed. He's bringer of the curse, and then there's like a grand opening festival or something,
and everyone gets murdered.
And everybody gets murdered by Native American.
And then they're trapped up there because the storm's
demons
coming in,
and spirits,
and they can't get out.
Big storm gets. They're all trapped in there.
Yeah, and then people are freezing to death and stuff.
There's a scene where they like go out and it's all snow, and then
the abominable
you see like something
out there.
else. Yeah. See, I thought this movie was gonna be about a Sasquatch because it's called Winterbeast.
I know, it sounds badass.
Because
it's a very misleading title.
A Yeti. What do you think is scarier, a Yeti or a Sasquatch?
Are they not interchangeable?
Well, I feel like a Yeti's like the white haired
the abominable
one.
Snowman.
Yeah, like in the snow. Well, a Sasquatch is like one you find in the
forest.
forest.
The snow one is very scary.
Yeah, I think
the
because he blends in. He's like white out.
Yeah, and when he gets blood on him,
you can't see him, and then the snow shifts, and it's a giant creature there.
Yeah. What'd you say, Mark?
A Wendigo? Isn't that what it's called?
That might be this. I think that might be the same thing as a Yeti, but I'm not sure.
Isn't there something that has like the antlers of a deer, but it's like a skeleton kind of thing?
That's in the Antlers movie. That's what that's about. What is that? I forget what that is. That might be a Wendigo. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's some like scary ass forest creature like beasts. Like they're like really disturbing.
I think a Wendigo is a Native American.
I think like a dark forest is just like innately like it's part of your primal fear. Like as just a spook. Yeah. Like you grew like humans evolved to not go into dark forests.
It is scary in a forest at night, especially if you're by yourself. It's very scary. But in movies, it's never really that scary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was Blair Witch scary? I think that was kind of scary.
Yeah, well,
it felt more
the
real.
approach was very unique.
I think
at that time.
Some big horror heads will say that the Blair Witch is like one of the scariest movies they've ever seen.
I really like going in the woods at night. I like the woods in general. I feel relaxed in the woods.
At night in the darkness?
Sure, it's quiet.
It's not quiet.
Peaceful.
There's creatures.
There's constant shifting of leaves and cracking of branches.
It's relaxing though.
It's just dark.
It's relaxing. I was listening to this thing on. They were
How
talking
about that
about
scene where?
Hold on, let AJ do his thing, and you tell us.
Okay,
Yeah, I was listening to this thing. They were talking about moments of wonder.
Okay.
And moments of wonder are things that you can experience, like out in nature, that bring an actual positive note to, like, if you're dealing with depression and anxiety. It's like actually been proven scientifically. And a lot of it is just simply going out and like being in the woods or being somewhere that's like really beautiful. You get these like moments that are very positive for you being out in nature.
I'm not discounting. Yeah, I love going for a hike in the woods. I'm just saying, at nighttime, I think it can be a very scary place.
I guess it depends on the woods and like what could be out there. Like, I think giant black bear could be scary, you know?
Oh my God, a bear would be terrifying.
Yeah.
in the dark.
Yeah, in the dark.
Yeah, that would be
I mean, but that's
probably
like
one of the
only thing
scariest
that
things.
would
You just
run
hear
into.
it.
Yeah.
But if you're in like a place where there wouldn't be black bears, I don't know what else you'd be scared of at the woods at night.
Motherfucking Sasquatch, aliens coming down, get your ass.
Aliens coming, yeah.
Fucking spirits that you haunted of the haunted
Yeah,
forest.
just walking into an ancient
Wolves,
burial ground.
Wolves,
like,
crazy fucking cracked out homeless people and stuff out in the woods.
Well, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
I do live in Harrisburg.
Yeah, you live in Harrisburg. That's like
fair.
just pretty common there. What were you gonna say now, Mark?
in Winterbeast, there's that scene where it's the plaid guy and the girl that he's with, and they're like in the store, and there's like one of the beasts are outside or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
It's screaming.
They
And
hear it.
screaming, and the lights go out, and the
And they
building's
pretend like
shaking.
nothing happened in the next scene.
And it just cuts to like whatever the next
They
scene.
never comment on
never talk about it.
It's
yeah.
weird, isn't it?
See, that's the stuff though. Like you could slowly build. They like blew their load immediately
Yeah.
with that tree
There's no
scene and
suspense.
claymation. Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
If you would have slowly built, like we've unlocked something in the woods. There's
Right.
something out
No,
there.
They had
Yeah.
scenes of build up and like tension and whatnot, and it literally is just wasted for
You know,
nothing. I don't understand. Like,
what
why.
if we cut all of the stop animation scenes,
Yeah.
and then me, you, and Mark filmed all new scenes to go around the rest of the movie
It sounds
on a
doable.
green screen,
It sounds doable.
Yeah, no, I think
like,
it could be done.
tied it together in some
Do you
way.
really
I don't
wanna
think
do
it would
that
make the film
with the
better.
next year of your life, though?
What would we call it?
Not Wild Beasts.
No, not Wild Beasts. We can't. We already watched that movie. That's an episode that got deleted because I was drunk.
That was a good film, though. That was.
I
actually a
couldn't tell
really
you.
good
I don't
film.
remember. I was
That
so.
was
They
a
were
tough
like
movie.
legitimately killing animals on
Yeah.
screen.
Oh
in
my
that.
God,
Yeah.
I don't want
That
to
was,
see
like,
that.
real stuff,
I
man.
mean, like not in like
Horrific
gratuitous ways.
Yeah.
It was just like, there was like a bunch of mouses or something, and they were like stomping on them on the ground. or
Yeah.
something.
What? I don't want to see
You
that.
did.
That would be
That's-
awful.
You did see it.
Just don't
You were
remember.
there.
Doesn't
We
count.
watched it. All right. It wasn't
I don't remember
traumatizing
it.
in any
I
way,
don't
but that was
remember.
a great fucking film.
Okay. I'll
They
take
had
your word
live
on that.
animals
I don't know.
in all
Yeah,
the shots.
yeah.
There were such like
It was
good kill
impressive.
scenes. It was really impressive.
Well, Winterbeast was pretty impressive.
It was unique. I think if it wasn't for the claymation, we would all be very angry.
You know, the movie did have a tone,
Yeah.
right?
It
yeah,
had
one note, one
the one-
camera.
it
different
had
times.
it had a style to it.
A little bit David Lynchian. kind of.
Lynchian style a little
Mhm.
bit.
Unfortunately, it was just spliced in with like home movies, and
Yeah.
it just didn't
It
work.
couldn't like work properly.
What'd you think of the sets? Because some of those were definitely sets,
Yeah,
right?
I thought I liked the sets. I thought I just think we were like, you can't mix those two together and not have the audience question it. Unless all the set sequences are going to be some kind of dream scenario, and then it makes sense like why it's on the set. It feels surreal in some way. It just doesn't make sense interjecting it like they did into the movie.
I liked the outside of the lodge scene or set.
with that
they-
little tree.
With
the little
trees
tree.
in front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes shadows would cast. on
sometimes
it.
shadows.
Yeah.
But there was scenes where like it felt like they were shooting on the set and then later they'd cut in and it was a different camera. And there's that one scene where it's like her talking and it's over the shoulder of the other dude and it was like a telephoto lens of like some other location. You know what I mean? They were shooting
Yeah.
from way far
Yeah,
away.
like a mile down the
And-
street.
So I guess my question is like, how do you come to this? It's not that like we filmed scenes 1 through 5 this year or this weekend. It's like we filmed scenes 1 through 5 this year and next year we need to film the rest of scene 3.
Yeah,
Like,
with
that's-
our one telephoto lens.
Yeah, of
that we
the different
rented.
angle of the
And
conversation.
different
It's
film
just weird.
stock and stuff. It looks different. The lighting's
Yeah.
different. Nothing aligns.
Like, if the movie had been shot in a sequential order, and as you watched it further and further, it kind of changed because they were shooting it later and later
It'd be
over the
less
years.
jarring.
It'd be less jarring. It's just the fact that like they broke up scenes and angles of
I think
scenes.
they just didn't film enough. They'd shoot it
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "We can't cut this."
But they already like filmed it.
I
Like
know.
all they have to do is just
I
refilm the
know.
scene with the
But
exact same
but
lines
it's
of
not-
dialogue that you're interjecting
But
with
if-
these cuts.
But it's not, even if they're like,
Film's
oh, well, we
expensive.
need that. We need her saying that because it makes sense. No, it doesn't. None of this made sense anyways. That's my point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, what's
like,
the point?
Why the effort?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it would have been too short of a film then, right? You know, an
Oh,
hour
yes.
and 15-minute film that feels like it's 2.5
2.5
hours,
hours.
when
Yeah.
when it's actually only
What-
30 minutes.
What was your favorite
that's-
kill?
I liked the repeller being pulled back
Oh,
up.
that was good. That was the
Um,
alien.
Yeah, with the alien.
He had 4
guy.
arms too.
Had 4 arms. The guy was just jumping down a icy cliff
That was
face.
cool.
Where was he going? There was a
The
river below.
Yeah, he's
Who jumps
gonna-
down into the
I don't
river?
know.
Into the
He's
icy
going to
river.
get a drink or something. You know, who knows?
And he gets his head ripped off.
He only makes it halfway down. And he looks up. There's a fucking alien.
yanks him
or-
Yeah, it's like an
I
alien.
keep calling him an alien. He's not an alien.
He
He's
looks
a,
like
he's,
an
a, he's a
alien.
winter beast.
He's like a gray man alien.
None of the other creatures are
he's
ever.
grabbing his rope and
Oh,
pulls
yeah,
him up.
that's
And when he gets pulled up, he goes, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
The gorilla was pretty fun too.
The gorilla?
Yeah, the one that jumped out of the ground and poured those 2 hikers from the 80s into the shrubs.
Oh yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
That
I really
was
like
a
the tree
gorilla.
guy the best. I think he made the most sense to me.
How come there was never? None of them are ever killed. None of the monsters
No, and
until
The
the,
ogre
end.
is.
The end. Yeah.
yeah, what happens to them? Do they go back into the grounds? I don't know.
Maybe they were all attached to the totem, and then the
See,
ogre was.
We
the
only ever see the
severed head.
one really come out of the ground, so I don't know where they're
I-
all spawning
Wh-
from.
Why was there
Where's their
not?
spawn point?
You needed a scene of like a bunch of different totems, and they all had creatures carved into them, and those each represented the creatures that come
All
to
right,
life.
don't spoil the plot of
Yeah.
Of our movie.
Winterbeast.
What did you
2.
guys think? Yeah, yeah. What do you? How are we doing on?
We're fine.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird movie. It's very unique in the fact that I don't think we've seen a movie collage from a decade of film before.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see.
Yeah,
It's a concept that doesn't work,
it is a bad
but
movie.
it's interesting to see.
It sits among the annals of like the thing of things of after last season
Mhm.
of science crazed.
Oh, Science Craze, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but
just like an oddity. And what was the one with the guy in the French countryside?
Igor something.
Igor, he's like...
Olgoff.
Olgoff, yeah. It's like that
Olgoff
kinda-
was better. Olgoff was what made way more sense. I
yeah,
think.
Olgoff was fun.
Olgoff was good. Olgoff was great.
Olgoff was fun.
Yeah, this is like nonsense
Yeah,
on a lot,
yeah.
and but it had higher highs than some of those other ones.
That's true.
Like I don't remember any high highs in after last season except for like the
cardboard.
3D models,
The cardboard was
Oh
fun.
my
cardboard.
I did like the cardboard stuff.
Yeah, Winterbeast. AJ, would you recommend Winterbeast?
I would recommend it if you want to check out the claymation sequences, but I don't think you would want to watch the whole movie, so it's not really... I wouldn't really recommend it.
That one song though was pretty badass.
There was some good music, yeah.
That freaking
Some
at the
good
beach
synth
song.
work. Some good synth work.
What do you think of the beach scene?
It's so out of place.
What was the?
How do you
purpose of the
explain
beach
going
scene?
again from a mountain to a beach? You
Yeah,
don't.
I don't think.
Why are
See, I think
they-
they were gaslighting their audience. Like we not aware. That's the thing. It's offensive to me
Yeah.
to gaslight the audience and be like, no, he was wearing this the whole time, and then it cuts the angle and he's wearing something
At a
different.
beach
Or
house.
it's like, no, this is a movie that takes place at a freaking mountain, and then they're like at the beach.
He
And
has
it's
like a he's got like a plaid vest on in the middle of summer, and then it cuts and he's got a overcoat and it's winter. I just like why.
They go to the beach and the
They
guy
go to the
falls in a
beach.
hole. Why is that a scene in the movie? And he's struggling to get out of the hole. It's like the actor fell in a hole and then they like keep shooting it because they think it adds tension
They
or
had
something.
this badass dragon clay model. They had to use it somewhere.
Let's separate
Chris,
the two
all right?
characters.
But
They
that had
gotta-
nothing to do with him in the hole.
No, they're separating the characters, so they have to film them together.
Oh, that's
Claymation,
true.
probably.
Yeah,
It's
that
like a practical reason.
the when they do the chicken thing at the pet not the pet. What's
Petting
it
zoo.
Petting zoo.
Yeah.
It like breaks through the fence. That shit will look good.
Yeah.
It did look
How
good.
can you be that good and competent at making these fucking stop animation things, and then the rest be such a shit show?
I know. I hear you, man.
Maybe it took 10 years to make those stop animation.
That's what he's been doing this
scenes.
whole.
That's what
fucking
I've
time.
said.
Because
That's how we started
It's
this whole
such
thing.
a hard stop animation.
Mark,
Like stop
are
animation.
you recommending
so
this?
fucking hard. It's a long hour and 15 minutes, but it is only about an hour and 15 minutes. So you can not lose an entire day watching it. The scenes where they're on set, they have that like spotlight lighting on them, the Lynchian type
Yeah.
scenes. They're actually really good. They have like these close-up shots
He
of
likes those scenes.
I
the
mean,
The flat
knickknacks
wides.
and the postcards and
lighting's nice
stuff, and it's
at
so crisp on film. It
It
looks
is.
so
It does
good.
look crisp. Yes.
It would be great if the whole movie was like that.
No. It was so
I liked
flat.
it.
It was so boring. No camera movement, just
But
wide.
that would be like the intention. Like the intention
Dude.
would be
Yeah.
these small scenes,
This is after last season.
this limited lighting, this very purposeful presentation. I think it could actually have worked.
Still keep the stop animation though.
I think you can get rid of it.
What do you think,
This
man?
guy's a fucking monster.
What do you think?
He said get rid of the stop
Cut it.
animation.
What do you know?
Literally the
That's
only
the
good thing in the movie.
politician.
It's the
Cut it.
politician.
No, this is not a movie for most people. It's not even. The problem is, it's not that fun watching with a group of people.
Yeah.
One, because there's so much dialogue, and it just none of it gets badly acted, but it's
Yeah.
not like over the top badly acted in a fun way. It's not Eyes of the Werewolf. My eyes. It's not like that. It's just like
Yeah.
and it's like I don't even know what you said. I don't care.
Yeah,
You know what I
you're
mean?
Not paying attention.
And then the nonsense stuff is fun, but it's not enough there. I don't think that I
Yeah,
would.
I
recommend
agree.
this, John. But there is one last question, Mark. In order to get my vote, what are you gonna do about this broken healthcare system in America?
What am I going to do about the border?
Who cares about the border?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I said healthcare.
No, healthcare.
He's got nothing, AJ.
Bro, I don't think healthcare
Oh
is
my
like.
god, this is how he's.
Well, I would expand.
Jesus
I would
Oh,
expand
Christ.
access to the Affordable Care Act platform. If you're gonna spend government money,
All
do
right,
it
all
to
right,
like
guys.
reduce premium
All right.
costs.
This is what you
has-
do.
He has nothing.
You got to get money out of the political system. You got to get money out of healthcare.
I have
Especially
I have
insurance.
an answer for the housing,
Because-
by the way.
Insurance
I'm
is
sure you do.
Insurance is dictating a lot of how the healthcare system works and operates poorly. So you got to figure out a way to get the money out, and you got to figure out a way that we can get more centered healthcare focus around people as individuals and their individual needs, and stop wasting everyone's time.
You guys, neither of you are getting my vote. I'm going
So,
third
with
party.
with housing, right?
No,
you
we're
need to get
All right, we're done,
head
folks.
funds
No.
out
Thank
of the
you
housing
for listening
market.
to
Why
us.
did Jeff Bezos buy $500 million worth of single
No, I know.
Thank you, sir.
single family
I
homes?
do agree
Like
about
what
that, yeah.
what is that? He's using it as an investment.
Well, you know what's going to happen to Jeff
platform.
Bezos? One of those houses is going to be fucking haunted with a sinister spirit, and he will not be able to escape the ramifications that are coming towards
That's the
him.
movie.
Yeah, no. One of
All right,
those
folks.
families are going to get possessed and they can sue Jeff Bezos.
Thank you
Sorry.
for listening to Garbage Day. We will be back soon. Second episode here. We're happy that you've joined us. Find us online, Bad Movie Night Network. We also have the Bad Movie Night podcast. We are on YouTube. Find us on social media. Go find us on Instagram. Join the Patreon page where you can become a member of the Slack. You can see some bonus content we have on there. You can also get your movie on the wheel for the Bad Movie Night podcast and force us to watch the horrible movies you enjoy. Lots of great opportunities out there. Check it out. Tune back in. Tell your friends. Leave a review. And we thank you.